Shabbat Shalom. This week's Torah portion is Ki Tezeh and begins with the rules of war. And you shall go out to war. When you go forth to war against your enemies, begins with the laws having to do with a man who sees among the captives a woman that he wants to take for his woman, for his wife, and makes it very clear the parameters of such a situation. It's also very clear that he has to marry her if he wants her. He cannot just take her, do what he wants with her, and abandon her. This Torah portion actually includes the largest number of commandments of any given Torah portion that we read throughout the year. And the commandments, like so much of what we have read until now in the book of Deuteronomy, ranges from so-called religious laws to laws having to do with relationships between people, having to do with courts, having to do with how to live your life, etc. I would like to focus, though, on two particular commandments that I find not only interesting, but amazing that the Torah should spend the time to get involved with such detail into seemingly such unimportant, or shall we say, somewhat trivial issues. The first one is in chapter 22, verse 6. If a bird's nest chance to be before you in the way in any tree or on the earth, whether they be young ones or eggs, and the mother sitting upon the young or upon the eggs, you shall not take the mother with the young, but you shall in any ways let the mother go and take the young to you, and it may be well with you, and you may prolong your days. This is a very interesting situation. You come across a bird's nest, and you see the bird there, either sitting on or with young, just recently hatched birds, or baby birds, or eggs. And you want to take either these baby birds or the eggs. What has the Torah commanded us to do? You have to first shoo away the mother bird, and only then take the babies. Now, why? And we have this statement at the end of verse 6, you should not take the mother with the young. I think what is very often understood here is that you should not take the young in front of the mother, which in a sense is taking the mother. Because, and here we're talking about birds, we're not talking about human beings, but I think the natural feelings that a mother of any species, including human beings, has for her children comes out so strongly in these verses. The concern for the feelings, for the suffering of a mother if she were to be there and watch as some stranger would take her baby birds or her eggs, which by nature she has been given such an incredible protective intuition that she stands there and watches them and guards them. And therefore we have to be very sensitive to the feelings of that bird and send the mother bird away, and therefore we take the eggs, or we take the little birds, baby birds, away at a point when the mother is not watching. And the reward for this kind of behavior is that you will have long days. And it is a very similar reward that we learn from the commandment to obey your father and your mother. You should obey your father and mother, that you shall have long days upon this earth. We know this from the Ten Commandments. And therefore this idea of lengthy days is very much tied up in the relationships between parents and children. Parents whose feelings about their children must be respected and honored, as we see in this little lesson. And on the other hand, in the Ten Commandments, the need for children to respect their parents and to instill in those children the importance of that respect. Both are very, very similar themes that we see in very different verses, and yet both with a very same sort of reward, which of course enables us to connect the two. The next verse, the verses that I'd like to focus on, is the very following verse, in verse 8. If you build a new house, then you shall make a battlement for your roof, that you bring not blood upon your house if any man fall from it. Very simple. You build a new house and you have a roof. And in those days, by the way, the roofs were flat, and still today, in many, many places here in the land of Israel, the old style of building, the roofs are flat and one can easily walk on the roof. And in fact, much of life here in this very hot climate is done on the roof. People hang their laundry on the roof. People go up onto the roof to get sun. And or in the hot days to sit on the roof and perhaps get a bit of breeze. And here we're talking about a house that has a flat roof, and therefore if there is no guardrail around that roof, it's dangerous and you can fall and die. And so you have here the Torah taking the time to teach us a lesson of basic safety, but not just safety for yourself, safety for others. We are responsible for the safety of people who come into our homes. We are not permitted to build any kind of structure that somebody coming into our home could be endangered by it. And if in the Torah uses a very interesting word, don't put blood in your house. If you have built this house, it's brand new, you are excited about it, you can't wait to move into it. If you are not careful to make sure anyone who comes into your house can be safe, then you are essentially putting blood in your house. You will then be responsible for whatever happens to the people in your house. And this verse, of course, the basis for so many rules of safety that we carry out today in our lives. For example, if you build a swimming pool, you may not have a swimming pool unless you put a fence around it, lest somebody who cannot swim wanders in, falls into the pool, and dies. What is the source of that rule? Right here in this very verse. And I just focused on two very small, seemingly insignificant verses in this week's portion, but I think the message is very clear. God has taken the time to teach us the most detailed issues having to do with our lives, how to look out for our fellow creatures, not only human beings, how to be sensitive to their feelings, to the feelings by implication of human beings as well, and how to be very careful of the lives of people that we welcome into our homes and onto our property. Shabbat Shalom from Samaria.